Who was Anne Frank? Why is she so important to remember? What makes Anne Frank's story stand out from the others? These 4 questions are important to consider during the film.
Anne Frank was born in Germany, 1929. She lived with her dad, Otto Frank, her mother, Edith Frank, as well as her older sister, Margot Frank. By the 1930s, power in Germany had shifted to the Nazi Party. In 1933, Otto, Edith, and Margot all left for Amsterdam as restrictions persisted and worsened in Germany. Anne was left in Germany with her grandparents before moving to Amsterdam with her family in 1934. Anne and her family lived happily in the Netherlands on Merwediplein Square, attending the 6th Montessori school and living life out as normal Amsterdam citizens.
In 1935, the Nuremberg Laws were imposed, a set of laws that made Jewish people legally different from their non-Jewish neighbors. This meant separation and oppression was now written into law. In 1938, Kristallnacht, a government-sponsored attack, was carried out in which hundreds of Jewish people were assaulted. This kept happening until German occupation in the Netherlands worsened around the 1940s.
At the same time, Fritz Pfeffer was working as a dentist and living in Amsterdam, alongside the Van Pels. Pfeffer and the Van Pels later migrated to the Netherlands in 1937. In July of 1942, as a result of increased anti-Semitism in Amsterdam, Anne Frank and her family went into a hiding space in a small space above their father's office. A week later, the Van Pels moved in alongside the Franks, and a few months after that, so did Frank Pfeffer. They all lived together in the small 4-room space, and everybody hiding lived in constant fear of being caught. One summer morning, however, their biggest fears turned into a reality, and their lives changed for the worst.
On August 4th, 1944, after over 2 years of living in the annex, Nazi police raided the annex that Anne and her family had been hiding in. A Nazi official, Karl Silberbauer, and the German Gestapo led the raid due to an anonymous tip they had received. Subsequently, all 8 of the people living in the annex were arrested. After being taken to a police station and interrogated, all 6 residents living in the annex, plus the 2 helpers, were eventually sent to Westerbork, a transit camp. After the arrest, Miep Gijs and Ben Voskugel, who had evaded the arrest, found Anne's diary papers scattered on the floor. They secured them and planned to return them to the Frank family.
On September 3rd, the Franks were placed on the last transit from Westerbork to Auschwitz. When they arrived, Anne, her mother Edith, and her sister Margot were sent to the women's barracks and were separated from her dad, Otto. Anne was spared from death because she was 15 years old and deemed fit for work. In the camps, they lived in dirty barracks and were met with starvation, overcrowding, and sickness. After a few months, Anne and Margot were transported to Bergen-Belsen. During their inhabitance, both Anne and Margot Frank sadly died of typhus during an outbreak shortly after the camp.
Anne's father, Otto, was the only person from the secret annex to survive the camps. He was liberated from Auschwitz by the Soviet troops. During his long journey back to the Netherlands, he learned that his wife, Edith, had died. Miep Gijs and Ben Voskugel were able to return the diary to Otto. Later, he published Anne Frank's diary. Many people are misinformed about the Holocaust. Anne Frank's story is very commonly told, and it is important to know why. Anne Frank represents the minority of Jews that were able to hide from the Nazis. She wrote her diary about every experience she endured. Despite all of the hardships, she still kept hope. Anne Frank shares a powerful message about persistence.